Let's now turn to our main conversation for tonight, everyone. So President Muhammadu Buhari has held perhaps the last Federal Executive Council meeting with his cabinet members for his fourth term. The president chaired the valedictory session, which held behind closed doors and is attended by members of the president's cabinet. The session held after President Buhari returned to Abuja on Tuesday night is expected to dissolve his cabinet to end his first term in office ahead of the May 29, 2019 swearing-in ceremony. But after the meeting, it was understood that, well, the cabinet has not yet been dissolved. Let's talk about the transition process, the performance of the Buhari government who is seeking or who has gotten the mandate for a second term in office. How have they fared? What about the performance of some of these members? Who are the possible faces that you might see that could return? What about the cabinet? Is it ready? Have they started screening them? What do we know? I'm joining me tonight on the program the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Mr. Femi Adeshina, joins us here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Thank
you. Good evening.
And from Lagos studio, an experienced member of the federal cabinet who served a former President Olusegun Obasanjo as a former lawmaker, a member of the PDP, Senator Adeshina Ogunlewe, joins us from our Lagos studio. Thank you so much, Senator, for coming on tonight.
It's my pleasure.
Let's begin the conversation with you, Mr. Adeshina. The president did say he has not dissolved the cabinet. When is he willing to dissolve the cabinet?
No, but it's clear. The announcement was that today was going to be a valedictory cabinet meeting because the next cabinet meeting should have held on Wednesday, May 29, which is inauguration day. So there's no opportunity for another cabinet meeting after today. So that was why today was valedictory. But valedictory does not mean dissolution.
Okay.
Because in his speech, he said the ministers will be in office till Tuesday, May 28, when they will now hand over to their permanent secretaries. So it means they remain ministers till May 28th.
Are all the appointees of the president intact? Or that order affects some of the appointees of the president?
No. What the president said was that the ministers were to hand over to their permanent secretaries. The other appointees, it will be the prerogative of the president on who to return for a second term.
The chief of staff, the SGF, even people like yourself.
Oh, yes, because
so your tenure has not ended.
Anybody appointed can be reappointed,
okay,
or it can the service can be dispensed with.
Okay, so the cabinet has a lifespan, but your own appointment, for example, does not have a lifespan.
Because with the cabinet, it's constitutional that at every term, a president must assemble a cabinet made of one minister per state.
At least one.
At least one per state. And at the end of that term, the life of that cabinet then ceases.
The president did not appoint some people from for example, from Taraba State and some other state. The president has refused to appoint up until now.
No, replace is what
replace, yeah.
Because we had Mama Taraba in the cabinet.
Yeah, but she left, to pursue some other.
Yes.
From Ekiti also,
yes.
The president didn't
reappoint. It's a question of replacement, and if the president felt it was getting to the end of the administration and he didn't want to replace, it's also his prerogative.
Ogun State too does not have a representation in the cabinet presently as we speak.
Yes.
After Mrs. Adeshina left.
Yes, maybe because he felt it was too deep into the administration and that term will end, and so rather than pick somebody who will come in for 6 months, 8 months, or 1 year, why not wait till another term, which is...
We are close confidant of the president. What is it telling you about the cabinet?
No, everybody that works with Mr. President is close to him because he meets with us.
You are probably even closer than some of the ministers because you work right in the villa.
Yes, Mr. President speaks with all his appointees. He sits with us, he jokes with us, we laugh. And
what has he joked about the cabinet members?
Oh, you saw him on television when he came from his 10-day private visit to London and was asked about the cabinet, and he said no. He has not discussed it with anybody.
Even you?
He is working on it naturally, because the life of the administration terminates on May 28th.
But I hope you don't take up to 6 months in the last time.
He has said it. He has said that, and it's in the public domain, that it will not take long this time. And the circumstances which caused that to happen in the first term are not exactly the circumstances we have now. Then you had a problem of lack of proper handover from the exiting administration. You had a economic downturn. You had corruption. The polity was disorderly, and he needed to set some things right before he assembled his cabinet. That is not the situation now.
What? It was a closed-off session.
No, the media was there.
No. I mean, at some point, the media was eased out. They were asked to step out.
No.
So the president read his speech.
Yes.
But we understand that there's a part of that valedictory session that was closed off.
No. What happened was, after that session, they were going to go outside to take photographs. So the media was asked to go ahead to the place where photographs would be taken. The only thing that happened after the media went out was the SGF announcing which ministers to address the press. That was all.
There was not. Is there any kind of assessment of the president's ministers by him? Is there any kind of assessment?
You know that whoever assembles a team knows how to assess.
That's what I'm saying. Did the president do any kind of assessment of his cabinet members?
If you listen to his speech, he said why he kept the ministers all the way was that each of them had unique gifts and attributes. So that's an assessment. And then he said they should be proud to be part of the team that did so many things, and he listed them: diversifying the economy, infrastructure revolution, the security in the Northeast, where we were particularly challenged when the government came into office. He listed all those things, and he said they should be proud to be part of it.
Let me bring in an experienced member, a former member of the federal cabinet. He probably knows where the shoe pinches in this kind of sense when a term is ending, and a lot of the ministers who are getting out now, a lot of them are not sure to get a job. We don't even know who is going to be on that list. Senator Ogunlewe, tell us, as it stands right now, when you face this kind of situation, what was on your mind? And if you can tell us, this is the situation, the president who never fired any minister. Jonathan fired ministers. He never fired any minister. He kept all of them. He kept faith with them. Even when people complained, some people voluntarily left the cabinet. How would you assess President Muhammadu Buhari's first cabinet and the crop of people who were in that cabinet?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Well, honestly, one must commend President Muhammadu Buhari for being able to assemble that, kind of Nigerians, very intelligent people, people that have achieved a lot in their respective profession, and and they've done their best. One must congratulate them for being there for 4 years to work for Nigeria. You see, everybody that is outside will not know what goes on in the mind of ministers. They are always on edge. People are criticizing them, problems here and there. They hardly see their family. They sacrifice all their time to at least, make sure that Nigeria works. One must congratulate them. By the 29th, they automatically leave the place. But the fundamental problem in Nigeria are never addressed. The party program must take preference over individual ministers' program. So APC must get it right now. It is the party secretariat that must determine what will be done, not the civil servant. We have problems like that. I was in the Senate and I was a minister. Nigerian budget, who is the owner of the budget? The civil servants, they have their own constituency also to satisfy. They will put what will benefit their ministry and their constituency in the budget.
How would you describe the situation, for example, when some Nigerians, obviously, in some sectors, were angry with some members of the cabinet? You would think that if you appointed that kind of person or persons in your cabinet, maybe from what they said or what they did or what they did not do, and Nigerians were not happy with them, and the president did not remove them or the president did not do anything, how would you describe that kind of situation within this Buhari cabinet?
Thank you very much, Seun. We have not gotten the nitty-gritty of government administration. Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Alhaji Lateef Jakonde, their own style of government administration, you prepare your paper before you hand it over to the minister. It is not the responsibility of the minister to determine the policy of the party. The party must sit down now, itemize the area of their preferences, what they want to do for Nigeria, and you hand it over to the minister. The minister should not dictate the policy of the party. That is the problem we have. We have this opportunity in 1979 when Jakonde came on board. He had paper for every area: education, economy, health services, infrastructure. Already prepared paper by Chief Obafemi Awolowo. This paper was handed over to the minister or to the commissioner to implement. It is the minister's responsibility to implement the policy of the government. It is not for the minister to determine the policy of government. That is where we have problem in Nigeria.
Because I know that didn't play out so much when you were in government.
Yes.
Are you implying that the APC, as it's currently constituted, should dictate to president those who will make the cuts in the second term? Is that what you're saying?
The policy they want the government to implement. It is not for the minister to determine how many roads am I constructing. What is the economic policy? In which infrastructure are we going to fund? Which type of budget we are going to have? It is the party secretariat that will have very cerebral people who will be preparing all this paper for implementation on behalf of Mr. President. It is not for the minister to determine the policy of the party. When you now determine the policy of the party, it may be going this way, while the party policy is this. So the party must take responsibility now for the budget, for the implementation, for the policy that will be implemented by the minister. Don't let the minister take preference over party politics. The party must get involved right now. Which type of economy do you want? Get
on the table
people
now is
that are competent.
How these ministers performed. Let me put you on the spot. How would you rate this cabinet as a team? Did they perform very well?
There was no synergy.
Are they fair or is it poor? Quickly.
No. It is average. But there was no synergy. There was no input from the party. The party was running as if they are not the government. APC is the government now. And it is whatever they do that they will be measured by. It is not the minister. The minister has little stake in this sort of thing. The minister will not be campaigning that I did this, I did this. It is the party
with your experience
who implement programs.
As a former minister, which of these ministers would you advise President Buhari to bring back, or you think that he should overhaul? None of these guys should come back.
No. I am not a personality person when it comes to government administration. I'm for research. What do you want this government to be in another 4 years? It is not the minister who will determine it. You have to assemble cerebral people, professors, private people. Let them sit down and write papers for the government to implement, for the minister to implement. It is not for the responsibility of the minister to determine where the road will go, where the rail will go. Which type of economy do we run? No. That is the responsibility of the party. It is the party that campaigns.
From Mr. Adeshina, whether or not your advice and your experience is in line with what this present government is doing, from what we understand and what is playing out, Mr. Adeshina, what can you tell us? Is the president consulting with the party in choosing those who will be his next set of ministers?
Yes, the president has to consult widely, not just limited to the party. Yes, the party will be part of it, but he will consult widely. If you look at this cabinet that is exiting, there were even some non-APC members in it. That means the president is going to draw people from whichever area.
So, for example, like Anambra State, now we saw the governor saying that he came because of some issues of appointment and all of that. So there's a possibility that we will find more non-APC members in this cabinet.
The president is going to assemble the brightest and best of Nigerians.
Do you think we had the brightest and best in this cabinet, outgoing cabinet?
It's not for me to judge the cabinet. You know, my principal.
Okay, you are even a member of cabinet.
Yes, I sit in cabinet, but my principal, who is the president, assembled that cabinet, and is the one that can judge and assess them.
But
and by his
Senator
assessment,
said they perform average. That there was no.
It's an opinion. Senator has a right to it. I respect his opinion. But it's an opinion. You will find somebody whose opinion will be different from his. And that's the thing about opinions. It differs from person to person.
Well, what is going to be different that this president is going to do in the second term in approach to governance? He has been described as Baba Go Slow. He's very slow to action in major governance issue. It's been criticized that he doesn't move around like his VP will do and go around and see what is happening on the ground. He's also being criticized that he reacts to incidents outside of the country faster than he does to the incidents locally.
The second term is a term for legacy building. The president will do all that would stand him in good stead in the memory of Nigerians as a president that came, that saw, and that conquered.
What about the cabals? Are they still there?
I have, unless you tell me who they are.
Are you just hearing about the cabals?
No. The vice president has told the media that he doesn't know about the cabal.
Maybe they are not visible to the vice president's office.
Neither are they visible to me.
But I'm a journalist, so you know we know stuff.
You remember I'm a journalist too.
You were a journalist up until recently. So, seriously, are the cabal still there? The very close friends of the president?
No, unless you can prove to me that there is indeed a cabal. If I have not seen a cabal, nothing like that has affected my work in any negative sense, then I can't agree with you that
maybe you're afraid of the cabal, Mr. Adeshina.
No. You know, at a certain stage in life, you fear nothing and you fear nobody.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Let's get to your final word, Senator Ogunlewe, just in about 30 or 40 seconds before we close. You've heard also about the cabals. You've heard the way the president has performed or the way he reacts to issues of governance, critical issues in the country, in the land. What are your views and what do you think must be done urgently by the president as soon as he gets on the started with the second term?
Well, we must congratulate the president for even addressing the issue of true federalism. He must now expatiate on what he means by that. I am so attracted to him by this pronouncement that for the first time we are hearing something everybody wants to hear. We must restructure the country. We must make the local government autonomous. And that is what he's doing now. And I'm very happy about it.
Okay, so we need to go. Senator Ogunlewe, now that you are with us and I have the benefit of asking you quickly, just in a breath, are you a member of the APC or the PDP? I need to get that clear because the last time I checked, you were a member of the PDP.
No. I'm going
Which
now.
one are you?
I'm going around the entire local government one by one, preparatory to a decision. We gave them 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, we take a decision. Finally, the chairman of the party.
It's a pleasure talking to you. Former Minister of Works and former federal lawmaker. Thank you so much. It was always a pleasure having you around. And Mr. Femi Adeshina, thank you so much. It was always a pleasure having you. We hope to see you maybe in the second time. Maybe you won't go with this cabinet. Thank you so much for coming.
Hopefully.
But that's our show, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Chua Kimale. Bye-bye.